Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Self-Publishing Insiders. I'm Jim Azevedo, and I lead corporate communications and marketing at Draft Digital. And today it is my honor and privilege to welcome our guest, Kelly Oliver, to the show. Welcome, Kelly.
Hi, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Let me go through Kelly's bio just real quickly, everybody. So Kelly Oliver is the award-winning and best-selling author of 4 mystery series, the 7-book contemporary suspense Jessica James Mysteries, the 3-book middle grade pet detective mysteries, which I was just telling Kelly back in the green room backstage that I just ordered from bookshop.org. And she also writes the 9-book historical cozy Fiona Figg Mysteries. The Christie Controversy, let me slow down. The Christie Controversy, the first book in the Detective Detection Club mysteries, will be out early next year. Kelly is also Emerita Professor of Philosophy at Vanderbilt University. To learn more about Kelly and her books, you can go to kellyoliverbooks.com, which I'll provide in the comments later. But Kelly, welcome. The reason Kelly is here today is we're going to talk all about writers clubs and writers organizations and why they are so important, why they play such a vital role in the career of authors. Kelly is the current president of Sisters in Crime. So let's talk about writers clubs. Why do you believe that, or what do you believe, Kelly, is the most significant benefit that an author can get from joining a writers club?
Well, one of the very important benefits is just a sense of community, because writing is something that we do. It's a very solitary pursuit. You do it by yourself, and you need to connect with other authors. And connecting with other authors, you already share a lot in common. I mean, you want to learn more about writing, you want to learn more about the craft, about business, networking. It's great for networking and meeting other writers. So there are lots of benefits to joining writers organizations. And if you work in a particular genre, there are different organizations for all genres. I think it helps to join a genre specific organization. And also there are organizations, I think, like Sisters in Crime, that our motto is where writers belong, and we welcome all writers. And I think that all writers really could benefit from all the resources that Sisters in Crime offers. And I'd love to talk about some of those.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Well, let's jump right into that. How does Sisters in Crime and other organizations, but specifically, how does Sisters in Crime help sort of reinforce that sense of community? What are some of the programs that the organization offers to writers out there?
Right now, we have a lot of programs that you can join on Zoom. So we have also in person. There are over 60 chapters of Sisters in Crime that operate in the US, Canada, Europe. So you can join those, and a lot of them have still in-person meetings locally. But
Hmm.
as a national organization, we have lots of Zoom programs that you can join and meet people. So we have writer sprints. We offer 4 writer sprints on 4 days of the week. And then during the month of November for Nano, we do writing sprints every single day, like
Hmm.
6 a day. So you can meet up people sprinting, which is fun. We have member meetups on the I guess it's the 3rd Thursday of every month, where board members will just volunteer, hang out on Zoom. You can come and ask any questions and just chat. We just chat about whatever anyone wants to chat about. Anyone can join the Zoom, and we spend an hour and a half talking about whatever people want to talk about. And a lot of times it's people who are just starting out asking questions. What does this mean? How do I do this? What's the best way to approach an agent or a publisher if I want to self-publish? Anyway, we talk about all kinds of things. We have what we call SinC Link, which is on a platform called TradeWings, which is a group where we have subgroups, people who are interested in writing thrillers or cozies or romantic suspense. We have different groups, or people who are interested in
Hmm.
business. How do I market? So you can just talk to people with similar interests, and that's an online platform. So you just get together and chat or share news. Oh, I just published my first book, and you get a lot of support. Everyone cheers you on. People have found writers groups, like critique groups, through Sisters in Crime, and I'm sure the same is true of Mystery Writers of America or romance writers or sci-fi writers, that you can find people once you meet them through the writers group who just say, hey, you want to share work or swap work and critiques. So we have lots of ways to connect with other writers.
But Kelly, let's say that I'm new and I'm just, I've written a couple of manuscripts, and I'm looking at Sisters in Crime, but I'm just scared to death because I'm reading through the organization's history and I'm looking through the board of directors, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is award-winning author, and this author over here is a bestseller, and she's written 4 series, and I don't belong. What would you say to a new author like that?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is that every time, now I've written lots of novels, but every time I start, I'm like, how do I do this? Like, I forget, like, I can't do this. Oh my God, it's so overwhelming.
I thought that was only my problem.
Every single time, it's like starting over again. But we have twice a month, we have webinars that talk about craft, like how dialogue, pacing, all sorts of aspects of the craft, planting clues, of mystery writing in particular, but also writing in general. Like I said, dialogue, pacing. We have plotting seminars on how do you plot. So we have seminars on business too, on social media, what's the best way to use social media, how to do your own marketing, how to do your own advertising, how to build your mailing list. Anyway, the list goes on and on. So we have a couple of webinars every month that address either craft or business. And if you're a member of SinC, you have access to the archives, which is amazing. I go back to those when I get stuck on something. I go back and I watch a webinar, and every single time it gives me new ideas. Like, it just gets your brain firing up. And for someone who's just starting, to have that kind of resource and also just contact with more experienced writers is really, really a benefit. And another thing that we've just started is one-on-one mentorship. So we have a new program that was actually started by our now immediate past president, Jennifer Chow, mentorship, where you get one-on-one mentoring. That is amazing. So, you meet once or twice a month for an hour, and you can talk to a mentor who's volunteered. And everyone so far is praising the program. So there are lots of benefits, I think, for writers who are just starting out, from the webinars where you learn things about craft and business, to one-on-one mentorship, to I was talking about the meetups, which are basically like office hours. You just drop in and chat. So we really welcome everyone. Unlike some other organizations, you don't have to have published a word. We have also readers who are part of Sisters in Crime. We have a book club that's really fun called Reading Like a Writer, where a few times a year we'll read a particular book, and we'll have a whole panel talking about how did Agatha Christie or Patricia Highsmith or whatever author we're talking about, how did they construct this novel? What works in the novel? What maybe doesn't work so well in the novel? And you really learn a lot just by reading together and thinking about the novel from the perspective of a writer. So there are lots of things. And since I'm plugging Sisters in Crime, we actually are offering a special code for this draft to digital presentation.
You are.
If you use the code D2D24 right now until September 15th, you can get an extra 3 months on your membership free. So basically you get the whole rest of this year free and all of 2025 for the price of, our membership fee is also pretty reasonable for all of the resources that you get. It's $60 a year for a professional level membership. So anyway, D2D24, and you can get an extra 3 months if you want to sign up now.
Oh,
Yeah.
I forgot. I forgot. Lexi was backstage handling all this.
That's great. There you
Thanks,
go.
Lexi. Gosh. Um, yeah. So before we went live, um, Kelly and I were backstage enjoying our vegan tacos and sipping on Perrier water, and we were talking about that inclusivity of Sisters in Crime from the get-go. So if you just joined us and you didn't hear that part, from the inception of the organization back in 1986, right away they're like, yeah, anybody's welcome, published, self-published. Um, whether you even if you've never written a book, if you haven't started writing yet, but you just want to learn, this is the organization for you. They welcome everybody, which is, I was laughing backstage because it just seems like such a no-brainer. Why wouldn't a writers organization invite others in to learn from each other? So thank you for
Yeah.
that code.
Yeah, yeah. And, Sisters in Crime, like you say, started in 1986 as an advocacy group for women writers because
Hmm.
women have been very marginalized in publishing, but it's open to everyone. You don't have to be a woman. It really doesn't matter. All writers, really. I think, I think all of the members would agree that this organization, you have the most bang for your buck. And I've talked to even presidents of other organizations who also agree that Sisters in Crime, you get the most bang for your buck, just because we're all about really serving the writers community and also giving back to the community too. We have grants for libraries, we have grants for small independent bookstores, we have grants for emerging writers. So we have the Eleanor Taylor Bland Award for crime writers of color. We have the Pride Award. We have academic grants if you're just doing research for maybe historical novel or a nonfiction book about crime writing or mysteries or the golden age or whatever. We also even have an emergency fund. So if you join and you
Really?
find yourself in hardship, but you can't pay your rent, you can apply for a grant. So it's really, the organization is an amazing group of volunteers who are really about giving back to the writing community and helping each other, but helping each other to succeed. That's what we're all about.
That sounds amazing. It really does. I just want to bring up a quick comment from Joni. Joni, thank you for this comment. Joni says, for our listeners out there, I'm in the mentorship program. It's invaluable to have that connection with a more experienced author. I hope SinC keeps it going.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been great. This year was the pilot of the program, but it's been such a success. It's an overwhelming success. Everyone absolutely loves it. Yeah, I'm also part of the program, both as a mentor and a mentee, because you can always learn new stuff. So it's great.
Cool. Kelly, how do you see the role of Sisters in Crime and writers organizations in general evolving as the industry itself evolves, as far as like mentoring authors, but also kind of teaching them about the different aspects of the industry at large? Because you yourself, so you've been self-published, you've been traditionally published. Can you talk about? I'm kind of asking a lot of questions in one question.
Okay.
Bear with me. Bear with me for a second. Can you talk about your background, both indie publishing and traditional publishing, and how you take that experience and use it to help push the organization forward?
Yeah, Sisters in Crime has always been a very forward-looking organization. As I said, it started in 1986 as an advocacy group for women in publishing because women were marginalized, women didn't make as much as men in publishing and so on. And we've continued to look forward to groups who are marginalized in publishing. So we support emerging writers, crime writers of color. We support with the Pride Award and LGBTQA plus writers, basically anyone can join. And we always want to be reflective about how we're serving the community, how we're giving back to the community, and also how we're advocating for people who have been underrepresented in publishing. And another, what you mentioned, Jim, is the difference between like indie publishing and traditional publishing.
Mm-hmm.
More and more Sisters in Crime, and I think all writers organizations really have to engage more with indie publishing, with people who are self-publishing. I mean, right, 10, 15, 20 years ago, people self-publishing were also marginalized within the traditional publishing worlds, or even some of these writers organizations like Mystery Writers of America, which I'm a member of, and it's a great organization. But a lot of these organizations have privileged traditional publishing over indie publishing. And I think that that's changing. I think it's changing for all organizations, hopefully, although there's still some that, like Mystery Writers of America, for example, where to be eligible for any of their awards, you have to be published not only traditionally, but also by a publisher that's vetted and on their list. But we don't have anything like that for membership or for our awards. You don't have to publish a word. You can be indie published, self-published. So also I think that Sisters in Crime, anyway, over the last 10 years or so, has more programming that is devoted to indie publishers. So that probably wasn't true so much 20 years ago, or when Sisters in Crime started, but now we have actually a lot of the webinars are devoted to indie publishing. How do you self-publish? How do you find book designers, formatters? How do you put something up? We just had a series actually of webinars about indie publishing, and actually at least probably half of the board members, if not more, of Sisters in Crime now are indie published or hybrid, like myself, indie and traditional published. So we have a lot invested in indie publishing. And also, I mean, what I've found now, to address kind of the last part of your question about being both an indie and traditionally published author, is that even traditionally published authors, you have to do your own marketing. I mean, these days, unless you are a New York Times bestseller, a publisher is not going to invest a lot of money in marketing and advertising. So no matter who you are, really, whether you've self-published or you're with one of the big five traditional publishers, you have to do your own marketing. And I know a lot of people, unfortunately, who get a big five contract for 2 books, 3 books, and those books don't sell it very well and they're dropped. And then it's actually very hard to get back in. So you've got to make sure that your books sell. And to do that, whether you're indie published or traditionally published, you got to do your own marketing. So that's another thing, I guess, it's changed. With Sisters in Crime, we have a lot more programming about the business. I mean, we've always attended to the business, especially like discrepancies between different groups in publishing and the demographics. But now we're also having a lot of seminars and workshops about advertising, building your mailing list, how you market, publicity, how you most effectively spend the limited, we all have very limited advertising or marketing budgets, but how to make the most of that. Yeah.
You alluded to it with the board. I was going to ask you the percentage of members who are traditionally published versus indie published. Would you think it's roughly 50-50 now, or is it kind of all over the board?
Yeah. I know that we have those statistics, but I don't have them ready to hand off the top of my head. But I do know that the number of indie published and self-published authors has been increasing. I mean, it's constantly increasing. More people are turning to indie publishing. It's much more established now. It's much more legitimate. I think people take it very seriously. They can't afford not to take it seriously, because the indie published books are really an important part of the market, the marketplace now. And most readers don't care whether the book is traditional or indie published. No, they just want a good story. They just want a good book. So I think, like I said, I think we as an organization have been, over the last decade, paying more and more attention to indie publishing, and also helping indie authors to be able to publish and market their books. And I also think, as I mentioned, that a lot of the tips that you would get for indie publishing apply to traditional publishing and vice versa. Because
Absolutely. Yep.
you've got to write a good book. You've got to learn the craft of writing, but you also have to learn the business. I mean, you can't avoid learning the business side and marketing and advertising if you traditionally publish. To do so, I mean, you do so at your own peril, because what most likely will happen is you'll get that contract and you'll go, woohoo, I have a contract with St. Martin's. Oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then the books won't sell, because if you don't sell them yourself, if you don't get out there and hustle and market and do everything you need to do on social media, then your contract is not renewed and you're back to square one. In some ways, you're back to square one minus two, because they're not going to want to publish any more of your books, St. Martin's or whoever. It's not just them, but any traditional publisher, if your books don't sell, they're not going to want to sign you for another contract. So you've got to do that whether you're indie or traditionally published.
That's a really interesting point that I want to underscore that point too. When I go to conferences, I get asked all the time, well, what happens if I indie publish? I'm so afraid of indie publishing and my book's not selling, and then I want to go to a traditional publisher later and they're going to look at my sales record and they're going to turn me down. But you're making it quite clear, like, well, it works the other way too. If you do get that traditional publisher to start your career and those books don't sell, they're going to drop you as well. So the key message from all of that is learn the business, because you can take that with you, as Kelly has done, from indie publishing onto traditional publishing and use it to your advantage. Oh gosh, I had a question at the top of my head and it went poof. And so to save myself the embarrassment of losing that thought, I'm going to bring up Lexi's comment. Lexi, our own Lexi Green asks, or says, I think the origins of this group is a good reminder that writers groups can be great tools for advocating for underrepresented groups rather than individuals having to advocate for themselves.
Yeah,
Fantastic point.
that's an important point too, Lexi, and everybody, because if you are part of an underrepresented group, it's very hard to advocate for yourself too, just for so many reasons. If you've been marginalized, if you don't have a platform, if your voice has been silenced, how do you make yourself heard? And that's something that is really important to Sisters in Crime, is to be an advocate, to be an ally, to do what we can, also to be open to criticism. If we mess up, we want to know it. We want to own up to that. We want to take responsibility that all of us are, we're trying to do our best, but all of us make mistakes, and it's, it's difficult, and it's not something that you can stop in order to, we're talking about social justice issues.
Sure.
It's an ongoing process. It's a learning process, and it's really a lifetime commitment. So it's not something like, oh yeah, I got it down, I know everything. You can never rest. We have to keep fighting we have to keep advocating. We have to keep fighting for social justice. And so I think that's something that's really unique also about SinC, is that commitment, and the commitment to trying to do better, to have new programming, to bring in new members. I mean, just for one example, we just started a youth membership because we're trying to attract younger members, and we're trying to get writers at a younger age who can make use of all the resources that we offer. So we started a $25 discounted youth membership for writers 18 to 26, I think it is. So, but just stuff like that, and the different awards, just always trying to think forward about how we can be more inclusive of all writers.
Absolutely. Kelly, can you talk a little bit about your writing journey? Again, before we went live, I was telling you that, back in the early days of Smashwords, everybody thought the big gold rush in self-publishing was between 2008 and 2011. I'm like, gosh, we are at early days here, such early days in the self-publishing journey still. But you started in 2016, which, that wasn't too long ago. And you've done quite well. You seem to be very prolific, very quick. And one of the topics that we talk about all the time on this show is the importance of newsletters. And can you address newsletters, their importance, why that they are vital for an author's career, and how you grew yours so quickly? And that number, you mentioned a number that I'll let you share with everybody, but I was like, what? How did you do that so quickly?
I know. Yeah. Well, newsletters are important ways to engage your readers, to keep in touch with your readers, to promote your books. But also, it's important to realize that you own your newsletter list. You own
Yes.
those emails. So you can do advertisements on Facebook, and they can use their algorithm to reach people, but you don't ever have direct connection with those people unless you collect their email addresses. So you can use a PR agency. I mean, you can advertise on BookBub and Amazon and Snapchat and Twitter, X, wherever, TikTok. But all of the people that those platforms are reaching, you can't reach directly unless you've collected their email addresses and you have a newsletter. So you always own that, no matter what these other platforms are going to change. They're going to disallow certain things or prohibit or change things that mess up your advertising. You will always own that newsletter. It is a direct way, and the direct way is really the best way to reach people. So you can I always provide content, and of course everyone says this, you can't just promo, because if you open your email and you see a bunch of ads, you're going to delete or eventually unsubscribe. So you have to give your readers also content. So they want short stories or bits about your life. They love personal stuff, pictures of your pets, recipes, whatever,
Because then they learn about you. They learn about you,
That's
your
right.
personality, and your author brand that way.
Yeah, they want a personal connection. I mean, we all want a personal connection. One thing I absolutely love is I get emails from people. They write back when I send out, like I maybe tell them where I grew up,
Mm-hmm.
ask them where they grew up, and then they tell me their story. And it's really fun. And you can write back to, starting this kind of exchange. And also, I mean, just in general, the demographic of readers are retired women. That's the number one demographic really for most genres, but certainly
Mm-hmm.
for my genre. And I mean, some of those women just want to make a connection. They're lonely, they
Yeah.
want to feel connected and to write, and to have a little exchange. So I find it very, very rewarding too, to get emails from readers. So I mean, I built up the list. If you're wondering how I built the list,
Yeah. Can we talk about do you feel comfortable sharing how many subscribers you have?
I had built the list up to almost 300,000 subscribers. Because anyone who does a newsletter list knows, you have to pay per subscriber. Once you get up to, when you have a big list like that, it's going to cost you a couple $1,000s a month to maintain that list.
A
So
month.
I've cut it down to make it more affordable. Also, you don't want to keep people, you always have to keep pruning. You don't want to keep people on there that aren't opening your
Okay.
messages, right? Or responding. So right now I am keeping it at about 130,000 active in my, so I keep about 130,000 active now
Wow.
that are engaged. And as they become disengaged, I will deactivate them. But I offered a freebie, so what they call a reader magnet, an incentive. So offered an incentive, and what
Sure.
I offered was, since my first series was self-published and I own the copyright, I can offer it for free if I want. Obviously, you have to own the copyright to offer something for free. You could offer a short story, a novella. I offered an entire novel, so the first in the series. If they sign up for my newsletter, I still make this offer. It's on my website.
Okay.
If they sign up, or if any of you all want to sign up, you get the first novel for free. And that's how I incentivize people to sign up. And I would promote that on social media. I'd also do some low-level advertising on Facebook, Instagram. I've also tried ads on really any platform, you name it, TikTok, Snapchat,
Yeah.
X, Twitter. Um, so yeah, Pinterest. And, I found that some were more effective for me given the demographics of my audience than others. But yeah, it basically just offer an incentive to sign up and use some low level ads to get the word out. And that's how I built the mailing list.
Did you start the mailing list did you begin starting it or from 2016, like when you first started your writer's career, or was it something you were tinkering with before that?
No, not at all. I
Really?
didn't. No, I didn't. I guess I started around 2019.
Wow. So in 6 years or less, you built it up like that. I'm just trying to get a sense of how quickly,
Yeah,
because
it
to
was
me it
about,
seems so overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh, I would never be able to do that.
but you would be able to do it. You would. I could build mine up even higher if I wanted to, but it's right now. Anyway, you've got to maintain it. I built
Sure.
it up at about 100,000 people a year. So it took me about 3 years to build to that 300,000 mark. And then I really started paring it back because it was costing me too much money. And I mean, I'm learning as I go along too. Like, oh my gosh, I've got this huge thing. What do I do with it? So I'm still learning.
Yeah.
How to make the most of it. I think I don't actually make the most of my newsletter. I know I could do better because these newsletter services have all kinds of statistics and you can use the algorithms, and yeah, I don't do any of that because I'm trying to write books at the same time.
Yes.
So yeah, so it can be a lot. It can be a lot. But I built it up, as I said, doing ads, offering it on the
Doing
website,
ads.
but
Okay.
you got to get people to the website. I mean, just putting it on your website, people have to hear about it. And so I did targeted Facebook ads to readers in my genre who then would sign up to get the free book. And then I would have to see whether my promotions, if they were continued to open the emails, if my promotions worked. If not, if they just signed up to get the free book and then they don't do anything, you want to get them off the list because you have to pay for them. But that's basically what I did.
Wow. Okay. I still, I'm just blown away by how quickly you grew that list. Do you have a recommendation as far as the frequency? Like, do you do it once a month? Do you do it every other week? What works for you?
What I do is every 3 weeks, I have a 2 years worth of automations of emails that go out every 3 weeks that have content and no promos in them. So, like I said, the little stories about my cats, pictures of my cats, where I grew up, or maybe a trip that I took, and then little things too about the background on the characters in the novels, like fun facts I learned when I was researching the novels. Gadgets from 1920 or whatever, recipes that maybe my characters like to eat. My books aren't the kind of cozies that have recipes in them, but hey, your character eats something and people like to have a recipe for it, whatever. Anything. So every 3 weeks they get an email with content, and then on top of that I do promo. So right now I have a book coming out actually this Saturday. Yay. The ninth in the Fiona Fig series comes out this Saturday. So I'm starting to do a lot of promos around that. Thank you. Yeah, it's very exciting. I'm starting to do a lot of promos around that launch. So I'll do special promos, or if I have a discount, for example, the first and second in that series, the publisher is discounted as part of the launch of Poison in Piccadilly. So Murder in Manhattan and Covert in Cairo, back there somewhere. Those are both $1.99. The ebooks are $1.99 for the promo. So anyway, I'm promoting that a lot. I'm sending out newsletters saying, hey, get the first and second discounted, and the latest one is coming out. So I do special, whenever I have promos, I add on to, so they get a message with content every 3 weeks, plus promos around either discounted books or launches. Or I actually promo a lot of friends. So if friends I see that they have a deal or a book club deal, I'm like, hey, want me to send out
I love that. Yeah.
a message to my big newsletter list? And they're like, usually, yeah, sure. So yeah, and if you can build a newsletter list like that, when you promote, you definitely see a jump in the rankings on Barnes and Noble, Amazon, wherever you see that book, within 24 hours. You get a big boost when you have a big mailing list like that. So it's fun, and it's definitely worthwhile to build your mailing list.
That's exciting. And I would assume that your collaborator friends, your author friends also, if you promote them, they probably return the favor to you as well, which helps even more.
Yeah, and it's a fun way to promote each other, right? You can also do
Absolutely.
newsletter swaps, and that can be a way to build your newsletter list. I did a lot of that in the beginning too, newsletter swaps, like with Story Origin. Probably some people listening have worked with Story Origin. They just are a platform that allows swaps where you can find people who are working in your genre and decide if you want to swap with them.
Yeah. A good comment there, Lexi, who agrees. Alexi says, I imagine with a club like Sisters in Crime, it's a lot easier to find newsletter collaborators and swaps.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. To find critique partners, newsletter swaps, promoting each other's work. Yeah. In fact, I think probably most of the people that I promo are also fellow Sisters in Crime members, because most of my friends are Sisters in Crime members, because that's how I met people. I mean, like I was saying earlier, a sense of community. I met people online, but also in person, because Sisters in Crime, if you go to different writers conventions, like the big mystery writers conventions, they're there and they have receptions and programming. And that's how I met people. So yeah, I mean, I was a philosophy professor. I didn't know anything about writing mysteries. And I went to a mystery convention. The first session was given by Sisters in Crime on how to start your novel. And I went to it and I started my first novel. And so I immediately also became a lifetime member. I went home that very day. I'm like, Sisters in Crime, wow, this was amazing. I'm like, I'm joining. And I became a lifetime member. That was, I think that was back in 2015 maybe, or maybe it was 2014.
What brought you to that convention in the first place, Kelly? Like, did you know that you wanted to write thrillers, or did you just say, "Hey, that sounds interesting. I want to go to this conference over here"?
Well, I, as I said, I was a philosophy professor. I had a sabbatical at Vanderbilt, and like all academics, I'd always wanted to write a novel, because all academics want to write novels. We write all this scholarly stuff, and we have these fantasies of writing novels. So I wanted to write a novel, and I thought, well, I have never done any creative writing. I don't know anything. So I thought maybe I need to find like a writer's workshop or a seminar, something to learn something about creative writing. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. And so I looked online, and it just so happens, fate, I guess, that very weekend was Killer Nashville, which is a mystery writers convention for writers. And as I said, so I signed up right away. I went to that, and the very first session was hosted by Sisters in Crime, with some of the leadership and presidents like Hank Phillippe Ryan, Katrina McPherson, Laura De Silverio, these amazing, amazing women and amazing writers. And they did a 3-hour workshop on how to begin your novel. So I went there, and I became a lifetime member of Sisters in Crime. That Monday, I started my first novel. I haven't looked back. I joke that if it had been a sci-fi convention, I'd be writing sci-fi. And if it were a romance convention, I'd be writing romance. But it was a mystery convention, a crime writers convention. So that's what I'm writing. So for me, I mean, that's another thing. If you can find a way, and they do cost money to travel or to go to some of these conventions in your genre, it's a great way to meet people and network, but also to make friends. I've made so many friends through Sisters in Crime and through going to these conventions. And it makes a difference, because at first it can be very intimidating to go. Like you were saying, Jim, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just starting out. And now you go to this convention, you don't know anybody. Very intimidating.
You assume everybody is more advanced than you, and everybody knows more than you. And at least that's how my personality works.
Yeah, but if you get to meet people and you make friends, then it becomes fun to go to these different events, because you get to see your friends and hang out, and it's not as intimidating. You're kind of all doing it together, so it's a lot more fun.
I think this is a perfect time to bring up this comment from Misty. Thanks for the comment, Misty. Misty says, I like the idea of meeting up with other writers online and having writing sprints together, especially with people who are writing in a similar genre. but I haven't found a group yet. Keep looking, Misty. Don't give up. Yeah, keep looking for those. Maybe you can find an online Sisters in Crime group or an online group from another writers club. I know that they're out there. Even you've probably already done this, but do a Google search on writers clubs in your area. Maybe there's a meetup in your area. Browse
Facebook.
Eventbrite, Facebook, Eventbrite, other sources out there. Just ask questions, and eventually I can almost guarantee you'll find a group. And like Kelly says, once you find your tribe, like what happened to Kelly. She went to that one convention, it sparked her, and she's off to the races. My goodness.
Yeah, and you're Misty. You can join Sisters in Crime and join the writer sprints no matter what genre you're in. But yeah, if you search whatever social media platform you prefer, I bet if you search, you'll find a writers group in your genre that does sprints on that, whether it's X, Twitter, Facebook, Threads, wherever you like to hang out. I bet you'll find people who are doing sprints there.
And can you also just spend a minute, Kelly, talking about like Sisters in Crime isn't just about mysteries and thrillers. It's you kind of the subcategories of the genre are all over the map, right? It's not a very rigid organization. Yeah. It's very open.
No, it's very open. It's very open. All writers belong. And there's so many things about writing that are not genre specific, like a workshop on dialogue or on pacing or on setting or on use of metaphors or all of the stuff about business. I mean, marketing, that is universal to nonfiction, fiction, whatever your genre is. If you want to learn how to use Facebook ads, or if you want to learn more about how BookBub works or social media, how to put together a newsletter. I mean, those are things that are going to help you no matter what genre you're in. And like you said, Jim, also crime writers ends up being huge because there is a lot of romance, there's romantic suspense. There's everything from cozies that are culinary cozies with recipes or pets to thrillers that are even verging on horror. There's fantasy crime, there's paranormal. I mean, you get the intersections of crime writing and mysteries with just about every other genre, sci-fi. So I think that probably, I'm confident that any writer would find resources that would be helpful along their journey, whether they're just starting out or more advanced at Sisters in Crime, both in the webinars and the webinar archives in terms of craft and business and the things that carry over from genre to genre. Yeah, and I also find, for example, I'm in a critique group with none of the people in the critique group I work with are also mystery writers, and I find it very useful. Really? Yeah, and I think there's, readers too. There are a lot of readers that read in a lot of different genres. I mean, readers, there are some, that they know what they like and they only read a certain kind of thriller or whatever. But lots of readers just read all around. They don't think of themselves as, I just read this. So there's a lot of kind of cross-pollination, and I think you can learn a lot from other writers. But also,
I think that's that's extremely valuable. I'm sorry to talk over you.
No, you're right. Yeah, I agree.
Kelly, we're coming to a close already. That was quick. We've got a couple more minutes left, but I don't want to leave without asking you why you wanted to become president of the organization and lead the organization, and how do you want to take it forward? I know that you're coming to a close in your tenure, but how did you anticipate taking it forward?
Yeah, well, I feel very committed to Sisters in Crime. I believe in the organization. I think it's a great organization. As I said, I also feel indebted to Sisters in Crime. I truly would not be a mystery writer. I retired from my professor job so that I could write mysteries full time. And I started this journey thanks to Sisters in Crime. And I have enjoyed the journey because of Sisters in Crime, because as I said, I've made these friends through Sisters in Crime. So I also wanted to give back to Sisters in Crime, and it's fun. You know, we are a group of volunteers, so if you want to volunteer, there are lots of different committees and different work to be done and leadership positions in Sisters in Crime. But again, you meet people, it's all writers, you know, so you're working with like-minded writers to do something to better the writing community. And I guess if I had to say the kind of one goal I came in with that I've been trying to think of different things to achieve this goal is to reach out to younger members. So the youth memberships. So we have a lot of things going on, and Sisters in Crime is very active. So the leadership is very busy doing all kinds of stuff. The webinars, the SinC link, so things on social media, and behind the scenes stuff like the Business of Book survey, where we do surveys about who's getting published, because we, as I said, we're an advocacy group, so we also want to see, is publishing making progress in terms of including more people, in terms of diversity and underrepresented groups in publishing. So we do a lot of work along those lines as well. So one of my focus, though, I guess, is my unique focus, and a lot of people share the goal on the board, is to try to reach out to younger members. So we're developing the youth membership, but also some other programming. We're talking now about an emerging writers award along the lines of the other awards, but that would be for just a younger writer, a crime writer who is under the age of 30, something like that. So, and we continue with the advocacy goals. So the advocacy, the community, the advocacy, and the education, those all really appealed to me about Sisters in Crime, and that's why I wanted to be more involved with the organization.
Perfect. It's so fun to talk to you and learn your backstory about all of this and how you found your tribe in Sisters in Crime from the first day of going into that convention.
Yes. I was so lucky.
If people want to find out more about you, can they go to your Facebook link here?
Sure.
Okay. Is that the best? Is that the best place, or do you prefer your website? Oh, let me bring up that
my
link
website. Too. My website, yes, my website's a great place to learn about my books, to learn more about me. If you want to connect with me over email, I'm happy to continue this conversation with anyone. That's Kelly at kellyoliverbooks.com. Feel free to reach out to me. And Sisters in Crime, if you join now before September 15th and use the code D2D24, you'll get an extra 3 months for your dues. D2D24. So I hope to see you all joining Sisters in Crime and see you on some of the webinars. It really is a great organization. You're going to love it. Just go to the website, which is sistersincrime.org, and check it out. You'll just see the amount of resources on that website are truly astounding. There's a lot. I only mentioned a fraction of what you'll find there.
And so welcoming for everybody, really.
Yeah, it's a great organization.
Okay, go do it, everybody. You heard it here first.
That's right.
As we come to a close, Kelly, I want to thank you again and just ask you to hang out for a minute as I go through the obligatory YouTube closing statements here. Then we'll reconnect over the back room. To our viewers, thanks again, everybody, for joining us week in and week out. If you could like, share, comment, and subscribe, that helps us to reach out to people like Kelly to help teach you and advise you and guide you through your author careers. If you don't mind, bookmark dddlive.com. If you bookmark dddlive.com, you can see what next week's topic is going to be and who our guest will be. And finally, if you are dipping your toes into the self-publishing waters out there, why not sign up today for your free Draft to Digital account by going to draft2digital.com. Once again, Kelly, it was our pleasure to have you. I'm so happy that you joined us today. I reached out to Kelly, gosh, it was less than 2 weeks ago, maybe about a week ago. I'm like, well, I'm going to ask her if she can join us someday. Kelly's like, I'll do it next week.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm so glad that you had
Thank
the
you.
time.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jim, for inviting me. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah,
It's been a lot
thanks.
of fun. I'm so happy to meet you. I'm going to play a quick 30-second commercial spot here for DDD Print, and I'll see you back in the green room. Bye, everybody. We'll see you all next week.
Ebooks are great, but there's just something about having your words in print. Something you can hold in your hands, put on a shelf, sign for a reader. That's why we created DDD Print, a print-on-demand service that was built for you. We have free, beautiful templates to give your book a pro look, and we can even convert your ebook cover into a full wraparound cover for print. So many options for you and your books. And you can get started right now at draftedigital.com.